Oh, what is good, YouTube? Krishan checking back in with another video. In today's video, we will be taking a look at 5 of the best runner-ups at the Mr. Olympia competition. And if this video gets over 100 views, I will actually do a part 2 of this video because there are more than 5 guys that are incredible that were runner-ups at the Mr. Olympia. So we're actually going to start this video off with Leigh Labrada, who is, I guess, currently the face of GOAT Fitness. I'll probably get a logo at some point, but for right now, Leigh Labrada is the face of GOAT Fitness. And Leigh Labrada actually competed in the 80s and the 90s, and Leigh Labrada placed second twice to Leigh Haney in 1989 and 1990. Now, something interesting about Leigh Labrada that I didn't know was that he was a 7-time top 4 finisher at the Mr. Olympia. So for 7 years straight, he placed in the top 4. And this is a very iconic picture of Leigh Labrada. And he was known as, Mr. Mass with class. Now, granted, I do believe Shaun Ray and Terrence Ruffin are probably more modern versions of Leigh Labrada. I feel like he would have been a little bit bigger if he would have competed a little more into the late 90s or was even born a little later. But I'm pretty sure, as all you guys know, he is the father of Hunter Labrada, who is currently the 4th best bodybuilder in the world after last year's Mr. Olympia. But take a look at this image, guys. It looks incredible. Actually kind of reminds me of Samir Banu a little bit here, guys. But taking a look through a lot of these old photos definitely has me thinking of a lot of ideas for future videos. Now, why did Leigh Labrada never defeat Leigh Haney? I believe Leigh Haney was a little bit too much for him. Leigh Labrada never really got too big, but Leigh Haney was pretty overpowering at the time. Crazy lats, guys, as you guys can see here. And honestly, guys, if Leigh Labrada got bigger, I think it still would have been tough for him to beat Leigh Haney. But some of these guys, I believe if they were bigger, they probably could have won a title. And the next guy that we're going to talk about is Flex Wheeler. Incredible bodybuilder, guys, and probably one of the most well-known as being a uncrowned Mr. Olympia. One of the most genetically gifted athletes our sport has ever seen. And these pictures are of Flex Wheeler at the 1993 Arnold Classic, which he won. And actually, his first Mr. Olympia, he placed the runner-up to Dorian Yates. So Flex Wheeler placed second in 93, and he also placed second in 98 and 99 to Ronnie Coleman. Another interesting fact that I learned about Flex Wheeler while doing this video was Flex actually has 4 Arnold Classic wins. So at the time, there was the most Arnold Classic wins. And this is the version of Flex from the 1999 Mr. Olympia. And this is actually my favorite version of Flex Wheeler. Honestly, Phil Heath 2011 and this version of Flex Wheeler, 2 of the most eye-pleasing physiques. A lot of people like the 1993 version of Flex from the Arnold Classic. I may actually have to make a video on that, but Flex was honestly pretty good, guys. He could have used a little bit more work from behind. As we know, he was never really able to bring the hams and the glutes condition. But if there was no Ronnie Coleman, I'm pretty sure that Flex would have at least a couple of Mr. Olympias. Actually, there would be a lot of guys with Mr. Olympias if there was no Ronnie Coleman or Dorian Yates. The next guy we're going to talk about is actually going to be Kevin Levrone. Now, Kevin is probably the guy I know the least about out of all of these guys that I'm talking about in this video. As a lot of my diehard subscribers know, I've only been in the sport for probably around 2 years now. But Kevin Levrone placed second to Dorian Yates in 92 and 1995, and he also placed second in 2002 and 2000. So there's 4 second place finishes at the Mr. Olympia. That may be the most second place finishes out of anyone in history at the Mr. Olympia, but I would have to double check that. But definitely for this video, Kevin has the most second place finishes. And Kevin Levrone was great, guys, and actually pretty recently he posted a comparison of him and Phil Heath. And he was saying, how did I not win at least one Mr. Olympia? I guess he thought he was pretty comparable to Phil or maybe even better than Phil. But I mean, he was competing against Dorian Yates and Ronnie Coleman. And these pictures are from an earlier Kevin Levrone. He looked a lot more aesthetic. And Kevin was great, guys. He just needs to be a little harder from the back. A lot of people in the comment section of the video, when he was saying why he didn't win a Mr. Olympia, they were saying that his back could have been improved a lot and his quads could have been improved a lot. But Kevin is a guy who would have to look a lot more into, guys. And these pictures are from the 2000 Mr. Olympia against Ronnie Coleman. And I mean, if it wasn't for Ronnie Coleman, guys, a lot of these guys would be Mr. Olympias. And they actually had me thinking about something when I was putting this together. If we didn't have Ronnie Coleman, we didn't have Dorian Yates, and we had a lot of these more aesthetic guys winning the Mr. Olympias, a early Kevin, a early Flex, maybe even a Shaun Ray, would we have gone in the directions of the Mass Monsters? But Kevin competed in 68 shows and won 23, which is incredible. And the next guy we're going to talk about is my favorite bodybuilder, Shaun Ray. Now, a lot of people hate Shaun Ray, but of course, try to keep the hate comments to yourself, guys. This is all about Shaun Ray's physique. Now, something very interesting about Shaun Ray, he beat everyone he competed against except Dorian Yates and Leigh Haney. So he has beat Ronnie Coleman. Of course, that was prior to his reign. And Shaun Ray competed in 12 straight Mr. Olympias where he placed in top 5 in every single one of them. One of the best athletes our sport has ever seen, in all honesty, guys. And Shaun Ray competed at 5'5", 5'6", from around 210 pounds to maybe maxing out at 220. Now, Shaun Ray had 2 second-place finishes at the Mr. Olympia, which were in 1994 and 1996. Now, I may be a little biased because Shaun is my favorite bodybuilder, but I believe 1994 Shaun Ray was probably the closest person on this list to actually winning a Mr. Olympia. There may be personal preference. Now, 1996, I could understand Dorian winning it a lot more, but 1994 was a little arguable. If you guys haven't seen that, I actually have revisited that competition. And I also have a video up on Shaun Ray with his 1999 posing routine. As I said, Shaun Ray is my favorite bodybuilder of all time. Definitely a legend in the sport. He does say a lot of things that are a little out of hand, I can't even lie, but Shaun is great. He had a great physique, and he was inspired by guys like Leigh Labrada, you know, the mass with class. So Shaun Ray is pretty much a more developed Leigh Labrada. And the last guy we're going to talk about in this video, I'm pretty sure you guys have all been waiting for, Greene, the Predator. And as we all know, Greene placed second to Phil Heath for 3 years straight, from 2012 all the way up until 2014. And this is from the 2014 Mr. Olympia. Now, a lot of people say this was the closest Kai got to defeating Phil Heath, but I honestly believe the best version of Kai was probably from the Sharu Classic in 2011 or 2012. Now, this is my personal favorite version of Greene. Guys, look at this. Incredible. This is the 2016 Arnold Classic winning version of Greene. And Greene actually wasn't able to capture Mr. Olympia, but he was able to win 3 Arnold Classic titles. So that's pretty incredible. Now, Kai did beat Phil, but this was prior to his reign, and this was at the 2010 Arnold Classic. Kai did look incredible here, guys. I may have to go back and double check at this competition because this 2010 Arnold Classic is also a very, very good version of Phil. And a picture of Greene, of course, was probably from a photo shoot or something, but he does look freaky here, guys. Crazy cross-straighted quads. And I believe this is from the 2013 Mr. Olympia. And I may have to review the Sharu Classic. It's been on my list for a while, guys. But once I show you guys that competition, Kai honestly may have been beating Phil from the back. And Phil has one of the best backs of all time, if not the best. So that says a lot about Kai. In the eyes of a lot of people, I honestly believe that Flex Wheeler and Greene are probably the top 2 guys who didn't win a Mr. Olympia title. You know, if you were in their era watching them compete, and you would have told them that Flex Wheeler would never win an Olympia, they'll probably say you was crazy. So that's what Ron Harris said over there, MD. He said if you would have told him in 1993 or 94 that Flex wouldn't win the title, you know, he would just think you were crazy. But me personally, guys, and I admit it could be biased, out of all of these guys, I think 1994 Shaun Ray is the most arguable. But that's just my personal opinion, guys. If you made it this far, definitely a great subscriber, man. Hit that like button, sub to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on the bell so you never miss an update over here at Go Fitness. And also, let me know in the comment section below, guys. Out of all of these guys, who do you guys think should have won a Mr. Olympia? I'm expecting a lot of people to go for Greene probably in 2013, 2014 maybe. But, hey, we may see some 1994 Shaun Ray people. But as always, I hope you guys did indeed enjoy this video, man. I'm out.